What is up, folks? You know what it is. It is about that time. It is about that prime. It is prime time. I'm so excited for today's episode. And today we have got a woman who is a powerhouse in the business industry. I'm so excited to just jump into today's episode, and she's received so many accolades and so many countless awards, including being part of Forbes 30 under 30, the 2021 list. She's also been part of the top 100 most influential young leaders in Africa, and also according to Mail and Guardian, she's also been part of the top 200 young South Africans to look out for. And it's just, guys, the list is unending. Let me tell you, it just keeps on going and keeps on going and keeps on going. And it's so exciting for her to just be part of the show. And I know it's going to be impactful. There's so much knowledge that she's going to share. She's just going to equip people in order to go into the next level of prime time. So prime time family, ladies and gentlemen, let's all welcome Miss Cleo Johnson.
Hi everyone.
Sure.
Peter, thank you so much for having me. I know it's been a long overdue interview, but we are here.
It has been. It has
We are
been
here.
long overdue, guys. This one. But we're not going to share the details.
The background, yeah. No.
Yeah, we're not. But we are here, and Cleo, I'm just thankful that you took the time out to just be here with us. And yeah, man, thank you so much for being here. It is a privilege. It is an honor, and I do not take it for granted whatsoever.
Thank you so much. I love doing interviews. I love being able to just speak to people. Yeah, and I think it also just gives, I want to say, light to the work that you're doing, because sometimes you're just, in it and you're doing the work, and then somebody's like, I see you, and you're like, oh, thanks. So I do appreciate it.
Yes. No, cool. How are things going? How are you?
Things are good for most parts. Obviously, like we had the passing in Feb of my cousin, which was a bit devastating, but over and above that, things are getting better. I think, obviously, with COVID and the hospitality industry, it was a mess. So we are now rebuilding. Things are opening up again. I think I'm excited to do the work that I enjoy again. So not that I'm ungrateful for the work that I did have during this time, but there's just certain work that you're very passionate about. So I'm very grateful for that. I'm rebuilding my team again. Things are just falling into place. I don't know. There's something about being the 6th year in entrepreneurship that things just, something happens.
Yes. So guys, even Cleo, before we actually, got here, she was like, yo, Peter, I'm tired. I've just been,
I'm like on my second or third cup of coffee. I even yawned before we start, guys.
Exactly. I was like, yo, is prime time that boring, Cleo?
No, it's
for
bad.
you to be yawning and
it's bad. Tomorrow, though, I'm going to work from home. Just so I know I don't have to wake up with an alarm clock. Because,
Yeah.
Every morning this week, I've got clients like, we need to send the proposal. We've got a meeting at 8. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. It's been tough, but it's been good.
Cool. Awesome. Cleo, please tell everyone, just a little bit. Yeah, just a little bit of your background and who you are.
So, Cleo, as a person, I will be 32 this year. I was about to say I would be 33 this year. I almost caught myself, gosh.
Sure.
I'll be 32 this year. I live between Joburg and Cape Town. Family's here and there, so and obviously originally from Cape Town. Got into business 6 years ago, so 2017, started my consultancy, had left hospitality, well, I don't want to say like left it, but like left hotels essentially. Started my own consultancy, and it's been quite a ride. And in that time, obviously, I've been able to start other companies and ventures and projects. So I think between selling one business and closing a few others, I think we're down to like 4 or 5 now. I must just try and remember. But some we had to put on hold as well. So for those that do know, like I had Coco Collection at one point that I had to put on hold. I think it also just comes to the point of managing. I think managing not only your time, but also just where you're also seeing, well, like where you're seeing fruits at the moment. And obviously, if you're also very stretched, you also can't put like 100% into everything. So I had to make some decisions where I was like, okay, I'm going to pause on this or sell this off. And But that's me in a nutshell. I'm a creative. I talk a lot, talk very fast. But one thing, I do have a heart for people. That's one thing. And I've always said that with my businesses, it's always there to give back.
Yes.
Which, I've always said God has blessed me to be that vessel. And I think also in the last 3 years, there was a lot of unlearning of not just giving yourself the title of business owner or entrepreneur and thinking that's all you're destined for. So that's, it was a very important lesson I had to learn, because sometimes we also give ourselves a ceiling. Some people think, but entrepreneurship's like, it's, that's one label. You are more than that. So,
Yeah, no, that's incredible. And talk to us about your business. So, Cleo is the CEO and the founder of Nuecleo,
Yes.
correct? And she's also doing lots of other things, as well on top of being the founder of Nuecleo. So please tell us about the company and what do you guys do?
Sure. So with Nuecleo, we are a hospitality marketing consultancy. I must say that we obviously are branching out into more this year just because I think we're ready. But predominantly, we obviously assist hotels, restaurants, and any business really in the hospitality and tourism space. One, have a digital footprint. Obviously, it's very important in this day and age. But two, because of my hospitality background, I can go into operations. I can look at the commercial sides of sales, revenue, and marketing, and literally flip that around for companies and make them profitable, make them visible, So those are things I'm very passionate about. And what I was saying, we're slowly changing things around this year is we're predominantly focusing on commercial task force and hotel openings. So also part of my experience is that I open hotels and I fix hotels. So opening hotels, for example, with the signature Lux Hotel brand, Lillian Lofts, that was from ideation to market. So we're completely on the ground and fully involved in that. So that's that part of the business. And then we've got Marketing Maven, which is now my personal brand. That's been 3 years in the making.
Okay.
And I really took my time with it because also I think there was some imposter syndrome attached to it because it's how can I call myself a marketing maven? Do I really know enough? And, It's always those questions that play in the back of your mind. But it really did start in COVID, and especially because I think where I saw Nuecleo was going, and again, it's something that I teach, and I guess I had to adopt it for myself. People buy from people. So I had to put a face to Nuecleo. And also just because, again, as much as my skills are within the hospitality industry, it's also for SMEs and business, correct? There's a lot of synergy there.
Correct.
So Marketing Maven is more for that side of the business, where it's literally I will help furniture companies, makeup brands, all of these things. So I get to consult on that side. And if you know me, I can't be stuck doing one thing. I love diversifying. Sure. And I think that's also what made me successful, because when I was still in hotels, I would say yes to everything because I wanted to learn. So be it revenue, be it, marketing, be it sales, I just wanted to know. And I think that's also helped me in how I approach my clients and how I can offer my services to them, because I've got this full scope that I can assist with.
Yeah.
So there's that. So you'll notice now on my page, I'm starting to put out a lot more never mind curated content, but more informative content about what it is that I do. I'll be launching the website and my services soon. So for the last 2 years, I've been offering free mentorship, and obviously just seeing if what I'm teaching actually works. And now I can actually monetize it. I'm confident. Yeah. So that's the two. Then we've got Soldorado. That was put on hold. So also just as a tip, yes, it's similar to when you get a tattoo. Once it bites, you want to get more. So for me, when I'd started Nuecleo, literally 3-4 months later, Soldorado came about. And I realized as well, when it comes to business, try and perfect one business, or at least one business model, and then replicate. I was trying to still figure out business and grow Nuecleo, and then Soldorado came about. That was put on hold, but it's in the e-commerce space, but it will blow up when its time is right. Then we've got Power Circle, which I started last year, I think Feb. So that is going to be my MPO for now. It's part of Nuecleo for now, but it will be a separate entity. So that for me is just my women empowerment MPO. So one, teaching the digital skills. So essentially what I was doing in Nuecleo, I'm now just putting through to an MPO now, so I can start separating things. So there's Power Circle, so there's that. We had also partnered with FiverPay, why do I feel like I'm forgetting people? Meta, and not Meta, Facebook Meta. Meta's a different company. But basically to help township businesses digitize. Wow. So we had started the process last year, but also again, you take on a million projects, and I literally had to take a step back and do what was necessary at the time. But yeah, it's probably Q2 or Q3 of this year, we can fully get back on the road with that again. It also comes down to time, guys. I'm one person, so I'm always just okay, I can be here. And then, why do I feel like I'm forgetting something? Oh, in Cocoa Collection, right. So that was my cannabis business. So initially, funny enough, also, sometimes a business will start as one thing. And also, again, sometimes I don't always apply the rules I teach to people to myself. So I had started Cocoa Collection. It was supposed to be a drop shipping site. And then I realized how many people wanted to support me but couldn't because, drop shipping in South Africa isn't the greatest. So I had to quickly change my business model around in a week, sourced like local products. And through that, like, because of the products I use, I was like, oh, but people are actually interested in this. And it eventually got niched down to the fact that there are moms who really just needed, CBD products and stuff to just help them with anxiety and be it, night feeds and stuff like that. So that actually became my predominant market. So we are now moving into, and that's why I said it was a pause on it, but also because with COVID, it was difficult to import things. And so now things are open. So that's why I said we can pick up that project again. I also have new CBD products that were launched, new THC products that were launched. I'm very excited about that.
Yes.
And God willing, there's also the funding side of the project where we want to commercialize and obviously go into the farming aspect in that. But that's a very long plan, long-term plan. English. Yeah. But yeah, I think we're there. I think I've covered everything for most parts. Yes.
All right. So the interview is done now. Thank you, Cleo. We can just close off, wrap it up, because that's insane. That is.
And this is over and above running my. So also with Marketing Maven, I get brought into companies to either run the companies for them or assist them. So I'm also still running other people's companies. So that's why I'm like, sometimes I'm tired because you really get stretched. But one thing I can say, and one thing I've started coaching my clients on is obviously automation and having certain processes in place. I will hammer it into them. My clients love running fast. They want to be like, we want to do this. And I'm like, that's great. And I'm like, how are you going to pull it off? I'm very factual. I'm just like, do you have the processes in place?
Yeah.
No. Yeah. So I'm like, we will build foundation, then you can run. I'm literally like the strict mom. I'm like, we do this first, then you can do this.
That's the business model, being a strict mom.
And at the end of the day, that's how you build sustainable businesses. Have the processes in place. Then you can play as much as you want in the water, try different things, because you've got the back, the back end is set up. Yeah. So that's also a big focus for Nuecleo this year as well, because I also realized obviously with COVID, having lost my team, having lost part of the business, obviously everything fell back onto me. And I was just like, now that we're growing again, I cannot be a bottleneck. The knowledge cannot sit with me. The documentation cannot sit with me.
Correct.
So, for example, I know I'm using Notion at the moment just to, create those, what do they call it? Like pages. I know there's a better word for it now.
No, there's just lots of project like templates and a hub. Yes.
Yes, I've got hubs for different clients. So everything is there. So also because I can't handle can you send me this quick? And I'm like, everything is on this thing. Just look at it, download it. And I got to that point because also if I'm traveling or if I'm not, don't have signal, like nobody can contact me. So let me rather empower you. Have the information. It's fine.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Sure. That's a lot. And speaking of it being a lot, how do you actually manage everything that you just said now? Like, how do you do it, Cleo? I'm just like, not shocked, but I'm just like in awe,
So I must just say, he was so shocked earlier on when I still said, I feel like I'm not doing enough. And he was just like, what do you mean? So it sounds like I'm doing enough, but I think there comes a point, maybe it's just in my life where I'm just, yes, I'm doing impactful work, but at the moment I just feel like I'm not doing enough. And I think there's that I don't know if it's a stirring in me. I'm like, I know there's something bigger I need to release, be it, be it from an MPO perspective, be it from a business, not quite sure yet. God can tell me at some point. Hope you're hearing. But yeah, so it's just, there's that inner stirring where I'm like, something bigger needs to come from me. And maybe it's because I got used to doing things like that where you're very impact focused or you're community focused. So I'm just like, okay, so what more can we do? How can we better? Because again, as well, at the end of the day, I'm also only one person. Yes, I've got a team. Yes, there's partners that we can collaborate with. But again, as well, if there's not, how to put it, you can only reach so many people with what you have right now. So I think I also need to give myself grace, which I know I don't. But give myself grace that it's okay. Your time's coming. You can do more. But from a management aspect, so one thing I must also say. So for this year, my biggest focus is peace. And I say this because the last 5 years, when I say it's literally been a cycle of like depression and burnout, because I overwork myself. I never listen to my body. And it's also like an upbringing thing. Like I was a sports player, so we were always told just to like push through and you must show up even if you're tired. So, and I mean, it wasn't a bad thing, but that coming into business is, you can't apply the same principle. There's days where you have to push 100%, but listening to your body, I found, is so important as an entrepreneur. And you'll see like a lot of the stuff I always advocate for mental health for entrepreneurs, where I'm like, they need to go for therapy. So peace for me is a big thing this year. And when I speak about that, we had a sermon at the beginning of the year about getting your house in order. And it really sat with me because one, boundaries. I suck at boundaries.
Yeah.
With my family, with myself, it's just a mess. But these are the things that lead to burnout and depression because I just have no discipline in that regard. And peace comes with discipline. So one, it's having the boundaries in place. So like I said, I'm moving into a 4-day work week just because I'm just like, I don't want to be working forever. I want to be doing meaningful work, but not working forever.
Got you.
Number one. So trying to do that. So funny enough as well, on Monday. Yeah. So when I say I listen to my body, I really do. Monday, I had a few things I had to do, but I had a dentist appointment and I'm just like, I'm still tired. And I went home and I napped at 2 o'clock. One of my friends was laughing because he was just like, you nap at 2 o'clock? I'm like, yes.
It's a thing.
It's a thing. Because also like my day is not a normal 9 to 5. So if I nap during the day, I best believe it's because I've been up since 4, like that type of thing, right? So I've used an app or desktop app called Sunsama. It's actually been very helpful for me.
Is it that orange one?
Yes, with a little cloud. I think it's a sun and a cloud.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
something.
No, guys, I would recommend it as well.
It's amazing. Like, it literally, I can time my stuff. I can slot things out. It just works. So I really enjoy that. One, obviously, in planning my day. I know, like, with Mondays, I'm in client offices. Normally, Wednesdays, I've always said it's like my church days. So it's morning prayer, it's serving, it's home cell. So I don't try to do too much on a Wednesday. You know, it's very, like... It's quite heavy those days. So I try to structure it in that way. Weekends, I've stopped working on weekends. And I think that started last year. Because I was just like, there needs to be balance.
Yes.
So also understand, like, my journey to this has been, it's not an overnight thing. I think I started listening to my body only in COVID because we were forced to. Like, we literally had nothing else but ourselves to listen to. And, you know, it was learning how to watch Netflix guilt-free and be able to binge and not feel like, oh my God, I need to be doing something because, you know, these people on social media are like, yeah, Netflix is for, you know, the lazy people. I'm like, no, Netflix is my downtime. Like, it's literally the only time I can shut off.
Yeah.
I did get a dog last year, and that was also to add balance to my life. And I know it sounds funny, but I'm constantly going. I've also been single for the last 6 years because I've constantly been building.
Sure.
So for me, I was just like, I needed to give myself some form of grounding. Yes, it's a pet, but it's something I can care for. So slowly getting used to that. I know there's times as well where, like, I'll leave him at my mom or he's at daycare or whatever, but it's getting that structure in. So I'm trying all of that. One thing I also promised myself, so along with boundaries and all of that this year, is also taking more holidays. And not necessarily going very far. It can be a short lived. If I can do it once or twice, not twice a month, once a month or every second month, I've noticed how the breaks literally just, it keeps me. And I think, like I said, I want to break that cycle of depression and burnout. So I'm literally just trying to prioritize me at this point. And like I said, I know also it's not feasible necessarily to do or have this structure early on in your business. I know first year of my business, there was no way. There was no way I was going to be able to implement this because you literally are just trying to, like, make a name for yourself and trying to get money. And so there comes a time, and I think there's a season for everything. So what I'm speaking about now is just the season I'm in, but keep it at the back of your mind that start putting processes in place that you can automate, that you can, you know, delegate, and give yourself time because, and like I was mentioning, the fact that you aren't a title, you're not just an entrepreneur, you're not just a mother, you're not just a father or a husband or whatever, you're so much more. And you need to feed into yourself. So I have days where, some of the days that I take off, I'll sit and paint, or I'll go hiking, or I'll just nap the whole day and watch series and order my favorite food. There's just things that, like, make me happy, and those are things that it. So that's where I talk about balance, like just that time for you.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think it's such a critical thing to also understand, especially being in the type of industry that you're in, and, you know, the type of work that you do. Many, I think, entrepreneurs, you know, not that I'm generalizing, but there is that sense of drive. There's that sense of passion. There's that sense of, no, listen, we're not going to stop. We just keep going, keep going. But it sort of like does more harm than it does good, you know?
Because if you don't know how to rest, trust me, it will be your downfall. Because I know, and I'll always harp on it. And yes, I'm coming for those people that are like, oh, we'll sleep when we're dead. Trust me, you will die a lot quicker. Because if you're not resting, you are useless to no one. And I'm speaking from experience. There are times where I have to be so heavily medicated that I'm out for an entire month. God willing, yes, you know, God makes sure that, like, my business is still running, like, my clients are still seeing to, for some reason, work also just kind of down, like, that's like a little flat lay during that time, which is amazing. So it just gives me a moment to rest. But I never want to be out for the entire month because I need to get better because of my own doing. No, that's just irresponsible.
I get you.
So it's things like that where I speak about, and I'm passionate about it because I'm like, I've been through it. I know the schlep. I know the mental, like, upheaval of having to get yourself out of that as well. The tears, my goodness. Oh. So yeah, and I think another thing also to touch on, and it was, again, something, I don't know if I tweeted about it or posted about it, but there is a difference between, and you need to get to that point of striding versus striving. And, you know, with striving, I was also in that place because, again, it was an upbringing thing. We were always taught to win. We were always taught to compete. And it was a healthy thing that was bred in us. But again, transferring it to entrepreneurship is not always the greatest thing, because it can be detrimental if not, I want to say used correctly, or practiced correctly. So it comes to that point of there are seasons for striving where you need to do the most. You need to put in overtime, and there are moments for that, but it cannot be your daily, weekly thing where you're constantly putting in overtime. Guys.
Yeah. Ain't nobody got time for that.
No, literally. Like, enjoy, go get some fresh air, go get a cup of coffee, do something.
Yes.
So yeah, that's why I preach about balance. Yes, and when I speak about balance, it's not about, as much as I love waking up at like 5 and 4 a.m. to get like my day in, it's not the same for everyone. Again, as well, if you have kids, if you are taking care of a sick parent, balance looks very different, but you need to know what that looks like for you. And two, making sure that there is some form of you that's pouring back into yourself. And I hope as well, like as entrepreneurs, we get into that space of being more conscious. Maybe we'll call it conscious entrepreneurship, like it ceases die, because this mentality of always striving, I don't want to use the word toxic because that now I just sound like everybody else on a podcast, but it's a very bad cycle to get yourself into.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, no, I get that. No, awesome. So what I want to do actually, Cleo, and we're going to try do this, but with everything that you've mentioned, I want to speak impact, man. I want to speak the nitty-gritties of every single thing that you're involved in. Because I mean, if you're talking about like Nuecleo, we can get into hospitality and why that's important and your background, when it comes to hospitality. Then when we come to Marketing Maven, look, let's give people the marketing juices, about market. Because like, I think also I heard someone say, I think it's a quote, that marketing is like asking someone on a date, but branding is the reason why they say yes. And I think you can also give lots of insight as to why it's so important from a marketing e-commerce perspective. There's just so much we can dive into,
yeah.
Yeah.
So with hospitality, I studied hospitality, went to the Cape Town Hotel School. Sorry, I had to catch myself. The Old Granger Bay Hotel School, whichever one you want to associate with. Got my diploma there, and then went on to work for One and Only for a bit, then Protea, which was then acquired by Marriott, and African Pride as well, and then Radisson. So I had my experience, and thankfully had my experience with international brands. I always say, as an entrepreneur, it's really good to have some corporate experience, because there are certain processes and things in place that really make a big difference in helping you build your business, right? I mean, they are successful for a reason. Let's also be honest. As much as capitalism is, very fraught and very stressful. So for me, and when I speak about hospitality, I love being of service to people. And I think that bug when I was, helping people from behind front desk and checking people and just making somebody's day and just being helpful. Yep. I live off that. I know it sounds horrible, but that's for me. I'm just it's my thing. So that's one thing also I carried over into my business. My clients will always tell you, yeah, sure, we've got a retainer, but I'll always do over and above because I know what you need. Yes, you may not have the funds for it now, but it's fine. We'll get there. Yeah. And I can, for example, sorry, I know I'm quickly
no stress.
Off tracking here.
No
but
stress.
For one of my clients, I remember one of my few clients in the beginning. And now they're at a point where we've done a few project-y things, but small things. It wasn't major. Now we're getting into retainer contracts. It took 6 years, but I'm that's how long I've stayed with this client. And that's with and that's the other thing as well. I'm not big on having 100 clients. I have no desire. And I should probably say that maybe God wants to give me 100 clients, but then give me a team for 100. But it's a thing of just, I enjoy being able to give that quality service, being able to build that relationship with you. Yes. I don't think I can look at any of my clients and say, I can't still pick up the phone and us chat, even if we've parted ways. There's always some way that we lean on each other, they always come back, oh, we need help with this, or can you recommend this? Always happy to help. So I really pride myself on that relationship building. When it comes to the community aspect, so like I'd mentioned, obviously giving back, and obviously women and poverty alleviation. Those are probably my two biggest strong points, or that tugs at my heart, because I think we've seen it enough in South Africa. We've seen it enough in our communities that we grew up in. And like I said, I am one person, and yes, I've got a team, but again, there's only so much impact that we get to make, but still grateful. Yeah. So we've got the feeding schemes that I did with Adopt a Block. That was funny enough. So I've got some weird, crazy stories where
share. That's why you're here. That's why you're here.
When I talk about genuinely going out of my way and helping people, yes, it probably is at the detriment of my safety. But any case, I still remember it was during COVID, and I think we were watching what was it called? It was a sermon by Michael Todd, but it was that Was it
the
Giving
relationship
No,
one,
was it Giving
or-
University or something like that? It was that Giving. There was a whole sermon around it. Well, actually, a whole series, not even a sermon, a whole series. And I was so inspired by it. Never mind the fact, obviously, I was doing work in the community prior to that. But I remember driving home, obviously because curfew, and I had to go and pick up like milk and stuff at the garage. And there was like this man like sitting on like the pavement. Now I know like anyone would just drive past and also be like, "Girl, you're alone at night. Like, what are you doing?" And something was just like, "No, man. Like, you look like an old frail man." And I
Correct.
can't help myself. So I pulled up like next to him and I'm like, "Are you okay? Like, do you need help?" And he's like, "No, he's on his way to buy like milk and bread, but like he's so tired, like because he's old." And I'm like, "It's fine. I just bought milk and bread. I'll give you this. Like, where do you stay?" So he ended up being like a gardener for one of like the estates like up the road from me.
Yeah.
Jumped in the car, and like as we're driving, he's busy telling me like 2 weeks ago his wife had passed away. Now my heart's even breaking even more. I'm like, guys, this man is in distress. I'm just like, okay, let the security guard know, like I'm gonna go drop this man. Then he can't find his keys, guys. Not in my skirt. Did I jump over a high fence? Got a spare key unlocked. And like for a good couple of weeks after that, I just checked up on him, make sure he had food and things like that. But it's things like that, like, yeah, I've got
Over and
weird.
above.
When I say I've got weird, crazy stories, like
Over and above. That's going extra. It's not even a mile anymore, eh?
like I've dealt with girls being kidnapped. Like that was probably the most stressful. That for me was probably the most stressful thing, and that's why I'm so against this blessy culture, because of what I've within church, like what I've been exposed to, who I need to counsel, who comes in. I'm like, why do you find yourself in the space? And this is why I'm so passionate about women empowerment, because let me give you the means to make money for yourself. Let me give, because you do not need to be, you do not need to sell your soul for that. And yes, by all means, it's your choice at the end of the day, but I've seen what it does to people. Like I said, that for me was probably the most stressful. That was back in, I want to say 2018. And the Lord knows, like my pastors got involved. Like thankfully we've got a very active church, especially when it comes to like sex trafficking and that, and like obviously being on the ground. So, and obviously most of our pastors were like ex-rugby players, so these buff guys. So I called on them and I was just like, this is the situation. They had escalated it. I literally, and I think that was the worst part, the waiting to know whether she was home safe or not. But yeah, thankfully God saw that through, but it was intense. So yeah, funny enough, I've never told these stories to anyone.
Sure.
So it's just things like that where I'm just like, I genuinely will go over and above. Sometimes,
Yeah.
yes, my safety is at risk, but
Yeah.
if it means somebody else can have their life at the end of the day, or at
Exactly,
least have a meal, that for me is everything.
That is
And that's why I'm
everything.
always saying it's a each one, reach one. So as much as I know I want a massive impact, I don't mind taking my time to get there. It's okay. So there's that side. So like I was mentioning, we've got the feeding scheme. So on a Sunday, so how I find, funny enough, so how I found those guys, also another midnight story. So we always had these guys like at the corner. So I would know them by name. There was Tato. There were all of them there on the corner. And the day I asked them, I'm like, so where do you stay? Like in the area? Because we're in Bedford View. There's not a lot of like, I want to say like settlements or like shacks and things like that. So I was just like curious that you guys are here. Like, where are you coming from? And they're like, no, we stay on the corner. Like there's this abandoned house. And I'm like, what abandoned house? But anyways, I was on my way to work. So I was like, I will. So yeah, 10, 11 o'clock at night, also going to the garage again. And yeah, I think the guy's name was Spike. So I pulled up to Spike and I was just like, so where's this house? And he's like, no, ma'am, it's here. So I'm literally making a U-turn and checking. Guys, it's so dark. Anyways, checking. I'm like, okay, this is the house. And that's how Adopt a Block started. So it was 10 guys initially, fed them. And eventually we grew. We started feeding Observatory. We went into Edenvale. We'd pray with these guys, all of that. So like I said, it's genuinely just things I enjoy doing. And just giving people that sense of dignity. And I think this is also where I get upset. Like sometimes my family would like shout at me because, guys would come to the window. Acknowledge people. Because I cannot tell you, because I experienced it during lockdown and during COVID, how quickly it is to lose everything. And it's not because you did anything wrong. Literally, we had a pandemic, but you will be humbled so quickly, and that could literally be you tomorrow. So I would always greet, and even if I just say I don't have anything, I'm speaking to you. I'm acknowledging as a person. Don't just or just one way look one way. No, guys, it's. You see that will get me riled up. So for me, like it's about the dignity aspect. So again, as well on Wednesdays with the school kids in Kai Sands, we feed about 300, if not more now. With winter, obviously it's the soup. They educate the kids when it comes to like God and Jesus and all of that.
Yes.
So that's the Wednesday feeding schemes, and then obviously there's the sanitary pad drive. So I'd climb Kilimanjaro for that. Oh yeah, now I'm trying to think what else. Sure. There's always just, for me, like, and that's the other thing as well, like giving back doesn't have to be that difficult. When it comes to giving, people, they make it very complicated. Like if you have bread at home, make a sandwich, take it. Like there's really so many ways you can make somebody's day. Yeah, and then obviously now circling back, like to the tech side of things. So because of COVID, obviously I saw a need. Just because the industry shut down so quickly. And it's not because we haven't experienced pandemics in the hospitality industry, but this was like global, like everybody was affected now. And the tool that I'm developing, obviously it's very pricey, so it's taken some time, but it's going to be an AI/machine learning tool, essentially, that will plug into a property management system. And it will just help us mitigate what we experienced, and how to just better manage, because obviously sometimes we're also driven by emotion, or we're also driven by panic. Not a lot of people can operate well under pressure. So this tool will just be able to guide hotel owners and managers to make better decisions in their departments, whether it's needing to reduce costs, if it does result in layoffs, but layoffs literally being the last thing. I'm always trying to preserve jobs before having to cut it out completely. There are so many ways. I mean, if I look during COVID, if we look at the CEO of Marriott, how he did not take a salary and rather put that back into the company so people could get money or get their salaries at the end of the day. So there was that aspect. And like, even just with some of the, the smaller establishments that I work with, that are guest houses and B&Bs and all of that, not everybody can afford these tools. And for me, even with the tool that I'm developing, it's going to be free. The same with what I want to develop for them. It's a free PMS tool. Yes, there's free ones overseas, but you want something that works for the infrastructure of this continent.
Yes.
Not everybody's internet cabling is the same. I mean, I'm always so amazed by, what it is that, each country has, the type of development they have. So you need to be very mindful in the infrastructure, obviously. Just be very mindful when building these things that not everybody has the same connection, essentially. So one, being able to give that away freely, and this massive tool that I'm building, because at the end of the day, not everything is a profit-making exercise. Because if you think about it, me being able to empower these establishments, and at the end of the day, it results in jobs, and that's essentially what it's about. So for me, that's the impact that I want. I may not be directly involved in employing you and sitting and doing an interview, but can I make sure that the companies that I back they scale, and they're in that growth phase where they can take on more staff, and they are doing well enough because they are making money, costs are low. Like, those are just the things we need to look at. So for me, that's where I'm trying to give back. Obviously, like from a giving back aspect, there's also the fact that I do the trainings and the mentorship and all of that.
Programs, yes.
And I think now because of partners, this is why collaboration is important. Because of partners, I've been able to reach over 10,000 women. Wow. And train, and that's just in the last year.
Wow.
So, and that's just because of like I said, collaboration is so important. On my own, I wouldn't be. Where am I reaching 10,000 people? Unless I'm in a stadium, God willing. But
yes.
You know what I'm saying? So this is why, I will speak about collaboration. So from that side, being able to train women, and not only just on tools and stuff, but again, about that balanced life. How are you structuring your day? Just giving back to yourself. Because again, as well, with women, you have so many titles and hats that you have to wear. You're a chef, you're a doctor, you're this, you're that. There's also you that you need to take care of. And yes, I may not be a mom and whatever. It's fine.
Yes.
But I've also seen how it plays out in my peers' lives, my colleagues, my friends, all of that.
No, it's very key. If you look at the person that you were 6 years back or whatever in COVID, and you look at the person that you are today, I think to wrap things up, what are you just most proud of?
I think it's that I survived.
You survived.
Like I told you, the suicide, the upheaval, it was very heavy. So overcoming that, and I think the support structure around me, the fact that I could freely cry to people and be like, I am here, I need help. I'm very grateful for that. So I'm very proud of the fact that didn't tap out. No. But yeah, and I think one thing I really appreciated was my dad at one point during COVID, because I'd done 8 months in Cape Town, and he made the comment the one day, because obviously the hustle is real. When COVID happened, the hustle was so real. Oh my goodness, there was a million things happening all at once. And he just said I see you. He's like, you haven't stopped, you haven't given up. And I think, I don't know if that was something that he brought me up with, because again, I know we've got that sporting background where there was no choice. And I think for me as well, because there's only me. I don't have a partner who's got a nice investment banking fund that I can lean on. It's just me.
Yeah.
And I think for the things that I want to do, the things I want to do for people and my family, a lot rests on me. So yeah, I can't afford to give up. But I will allow myself rest. and I allow myself to cry when I need to.
Correct.
But yeah, I think I'm just proud of that. I can definitely say I'm in a much better space. I can, like, even just inside, like, I just feel lighter and better. I think that that last season, I still remember telling my pastor, I'm like, I cannot be Joseph doing 17 years of this, because I was going through the most. I'm like, I'm done. I'm just done. So yeah, thank God that's only was 3 years. Thank you, because woo, the Lord knows.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. I was thinking about, like, as you were speaking, is also just the type of skill that you have. Like, you've got so much skill sets which are just very rare to find in like one person kind of thing. So I think maybe speak about the importance of investing into your skill.
So I think, like I mentioned, like with hotels, I had said yes to a lot. And I think that's also what helped me get promoted so much quicker. I mean, I went from being an assistant to a marketing manager in 4 months. With no marketing background, zero.
You lie.
But it's because I put my head down, I asked the question, I said, where can I help? And I'd always make sure I'm in the rooms, I'm in the boardroom. I didn't have to say anything. I could literally be serving tea and being that little, taking minutes or whatever, but I'm in the room. I would say yes to projects. So eventually they would, especially with the bigger hotel groups, they'll always have pilot projects of things they want to release, to guests and stuff. And I was fortunate that I ended up being, the hotel that would be able to pilot all of these things, because I kept saying, yes, let me try. And I think also being in marketing, and eventually I think once you transition into entrepreneurship, you have to acquire quite a few skills. So I know, like, a lot of my videography and photography friends will be a bit nerd with me sometimes. But the thing is, because I've worked with really great videographers and photographers, I know what to look for. I can tell you, like, the grading is off here, the sound. I may not know how to do it. One thing, I don't know how to do everything, but I know the technical. I know what needs to happen. Even with SEO, I may not do it myself, but I know when I build a site, I know what needs to happen, and then I hand it over. So there's just things. It's so important. Okay, and I say this as well, especially as a small business owner, knowing you may have to end up doing a lot in the beginning on your own, but don't think of it as a bad thing and, oh, yes, we're overwhelmed. You will know how to do your bookkeeping, and once you hand it over to an accountant, you cannot be bamboozled. People can't run off with your money.
I got you.
So it's things like that. It's just knowing that even when it comes to social media, I mean, sometimes I still get having to do the content for clients, and sometimes I just want to do the strategy, because content creation is so tiresome. Love it, but it's a lot of work. And even with that, I know I have an eye for it. I still know how to make clean content. I know what to put out. So at least I can transfer that skill to my interns or my staff and be like, but this is how we need to do it. Even if I create the first 12 posts and say, okay, this is the guideline. Same thing with strategy. Guys, there's so many things we can invest yourself. And because we live in the age of the internet, guys, there's so many resources.
Yes.
If you look at my inbox now, there's over 2,000 emails in there, but a lot of it is also like resources that I download and I sit and read. I mean, I've subscribed to Quartz, so I look at what's happening on the continent with tech and investment and the banks and SpaceX and just things so because you never know what's going to affect your industry at the end of the day. You even also never know what from another industry you can apply to your own. So it's things like that, like just be hungry for knowledge. I'm not saying go and study all day or day. No, just for me, I have to do it in bite sizes, so that's my newsletters. I know I still want to do my MBL. Hopefully it's this year or next year, because that's also going to be a very strenuous season as well. But I never want to say I know everything, because things change so quickly. Look at the Instagram algorithm. I mean, next week I'll be like, yeah, we're doing this. And oh, wait, no, we're going this way now. And that's just how it is. But you need to stay on top. And that's why I say newsletters are so effective for me, because I'm like, it's just bite-sized information. And that's such a big part of my day, especially when I start my morning. I literally just pick like 2 or 3 newsletters, quickly scan through them. I'm like, cool, got my knowledge for the day. I can go. But it becomes so important because, again, as well, when building your business, you have to do everything, unfortunately. And then from there, you will actually know what it is you can outsource and what ends up being a bottleneck for you. So it's very important in that sense. If you are a student, if you are an intern, guys, say yes to everything. I'm telling you, like, even with my interns sometimes, I'll just be like, okay, I'm like, if you're going to manage your account, you need to be doing this, this, and this. Some of my interns, like, they've gone on to, obviously, I always say I'm not your resting place. That's one thing. I'm never your resting place. I'm always empowering you to either start your business or be better for someone else, because I'm just like, I'm not that person that always wants to hold on to people. I know it sounds horrible, but I'm like, it's okay.
Yeah.
I don't mind.
Yeah.
And I know with one of my interns, funny enough, I saw her last week, and she was my first intern. And I mean, to see how she's grown, it was amazing. And she still brought up like, yeah, you made me do this, this, and this in the beginning, where, account directors do those things. I give you very high level stuff when you become an intern. I'm not here to play around, because I want you to get running as quick as possible. And because also you get to be exposed to so much more. I'm not giving you, write a caption. We've got ChatGPT for that now. Guys, please.
I knew that was coming.
Like, there's things like that where I'm just like, you really don't have to worry about it. Learn how to design, learn how to code, learn how to build things that we need now. That's what I can give you. Learn how to manage accounts, because I've got a model in my business, especially with my interns. If you can, one, upskill yourself with what I've given you. If you can bring an account in, we only retain 20%. You keep the 80%. So if that's a 20,000 Rand retainer, well done. Facts. I'm not here to keep money. I'm really not interested. Zero. Like I said, matrix. It is what it is. So for me, it's very important to, with the people that come into my team, I will throw you in the deep end, obviously with support, but I'm just there because I know how valuable it is with the skills that I'm teaching you, because you can grow so much quicker in the businesses. What's the point of me gatekeeping and, oh no, when you become a what can you know that? No, please. No.
What are the valuable things that entrepreneurs should actually learn? What does it take to become a successful entrepreneur based on your experience?
One, know your purpose, or at least have some inkling of your purpose. And whether you get that through God or Allah or Buddha, just know what that is. Have something that grounds you in that regard. To build for impact, build for purpose. Things scale a lot quicker when you are doing for others, from what I've experienced. Then the other one is, and what I've brought up, I think, quite a few times on the podcast, is obviously not tying yourself to a title. Don't just say, I'm only an entrepreneur, I'm only, a mom, or whatever the case may be. You're so much more than that. You're not just as a dad or as a father, you're not just, the breadwinner and a provider. You're so much more, and you can be so much more. If we step out of that, because God, obviously, you've been given the grace and the favor to function in a specific space, right? Doesn't mean that you're ever ending. Because I can tell you, once I learned that, more doors opened for me that I didn't even comprehend that was possible for me. I mean, I didn't ever think I was going to be a speaker. I always used to laugh and say I'm like Moses because I stutter and I speak too fast. Yeah. But here we are on stages speaking all over the world, guys. Exactly. Yeah. So it's things like that where I'm just just allow things to flow as well. We have a plan, sure, and but don't be so rigid. The other one is humility. Yeah, things can go tomorrow. Everything that you've loved. Humble. Just be humble. And that's not saying playing small. There's a big difference in that as well. And then lastly, I want to say, ask for help. Pride will be the death of you. And I'm speaking from experience because I would never ask for help because I'm like, I got this. I'm independent. Ask for help. Yeah. It will save you so much time. And in that, we had mentioned as well, collaboration. Guys, I wouldn't be able, like I was saying, I would not have been able to speak to 10,000 women and reach 10,000 women if it was not thanks to collaboration. So, yeah, those are my little nuggets.
Oh, thank you so much for the nuggets. Very, very awesome and very, very impactful. Guys, it was awesome. Cleo,
this was so much fun.
Please, round 2. We need to have a round.
Yeah, soon. I want to say quarter 3, quarter 4. We must just retouch base.
It's that's what we must do. Quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter.
Just be like, how far are you now?
Exactly. And one last thing, how can people get a hold of you?
Sure. So I'm very active on Instagram and LinkedIn. Yeah, there's Facebook and all of that, but predominantly Instagram and LinkedIn. So Marketing Maven on Instagram, and then on LinkedIn it's Cleo Johnson, and then in brackets it's Marketing Maven. So yeah, you can find me that way.
Okay, cool. And websites?
Oh, websites, yes, sorry. Marketing Maven website is being launched next month, but it will be marketingmaven.co.za, and then with Nuecleo, it's Nuecleo, Nuecleo.co.za if you want hospitality services.
Great. And obviously I'll link all those stuff in the description for you guys to also see. Please just let us know how you felt about, this episode with Cleo. What were the few nuggets and things that you learned? I'm sure you guys just learned just so much, just like me. It was really awesome. So just put there in the comment section, what are the things that you guys really just loved about this episode, and what are the things that you're looking forward to? If she comes back, do you want it to come back? I don't know. Just put it all there. Tell her, guys. Put it there in the comment section. And it's just going to be awesome, and we're just going to grow together. But yeah, guys, thank you so much for tuning in and watching and listening to this episode. This is Peter Mudiba signing out till we meet again. Cheers.